excited for our panel tonight. So, welcome Rob and Jesse. We know you both have done PubTalk in the past, but for the new people in the room, I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you. So come on up, Rob Little.
I'll sit on the, I turn better to the right.
Do you guys want me to move the chairs closer, or you want a little?
I honestly do.
Welcome, Rob and Jesse. Okay, so I know that you're both like big bow people. So how about you each introduce yourselves and tell us why you're a part of Bow?
Wait, what do we have to do?
Well, Jesse, I want you to introduce yourself. Jesse Thomas, introduce yourself. Just like tell us a couple sentences, like who you are, what you do,
Yep.
and then why you are involved with Bow.
Okay. My name's Jesse Thomas. I was the co-founder of, or am the co-founder of Picky Bars that I sold about 4 years ago now. I was in Bow class of 2017 maybe, and I'm now a Bow mentor.
Very cool. Rob, how about you?
I'm Rob Little. Maybe most importantly, I'm about 5 years younger than Jesse. I'm about 5 inches taller than Jesse. I co-founded a business called Cairn in 2014, along with a good friend of mine from grad school, Jared Peterson. We built the business over the course of about 8 years and sold to Outside Media, Outside Inc., Outside Magazine. It's known by a number of entities. We went through Bow in their inaugural cohort in 2014, and participated for about 3 months in the program, learned a ton. Like to think that we were part of the inspiration for the program, and after selling the business, was invited, but decided to come back and participate as a mentor, which has been a real privilege and a nice way to jump back in and raft the hectic and chaotic rapid that is entrepreneurship without needing to do the entire journey.
Yeah, I think we can appreciate that for sure. Okay, so you both sold a company, and we want to know what led you to consider selling the business, and how did you know that it was the right time to do so?
Rob sold his business 2 weeks before mine, so that was literally, I was like, God damn it. And no, it's actually really funny. Rob and I have been in like more or less like kind of these business groups, kind of informal business groups for a long time. And we were in this business group that we meet every couple weeks for like years. And in the like 6 or 7 months leading up to each of our acquisitions, we were both being acquired literally at the same time and could never talk about it. And we were doing it like behind closed doors, crazy. And then I saw that you guys were acquired, and I knew that 2 weeks later we were announcing our acquisition. Anyway, it's just a crazy, crazy story. What led me to do it? I had the, Laird Superfood reached out to me. I was friends with Paul Hodge, their CEO at the time. They had just raised a bunch of money going public. They were getting a really high kind of multiple for their money in the public markets, and they saw that there was an arbitrage opportunity to buy somebody for a lower multiple and get that in, kind of catapulted in the market. And for us, it was an awkward timing situation where Picky Bars was in the best place it had ever been financially. We had just closed 2019 or 2020 at a little over $4 million in revenue. We'd grown 40%. We were profitable and growing, and we had just raised $2 million. We had no debt. We had $1.5 million in the bank. And then so I felt like I was kind of coming into my own as a leader of the company and was pretty excited to continue to do that. But it was one of those things where I'm not the only person in the company, and it was like as much a personal decision as it was a business decision. And I think when when I went and talked to, and a number of people in this room, when I went and talked to my business advisors, most of them said, you shouldn't sell. You're in a really strong position. You could do a lot with where you're at and what you have. But then most of my kind of personal advisors were like, you've been doing this for 10 years. It's been really hard. We completely leveraged our house. We were like, down in the financial dumps during it at some point. And then, my ex and I were, hats off to Katie and Chris. It's hard, and I know. And so that's a real accomplishment. And so, there was just a lot of there was a lot of like personal stress on it. So that was the reason. So it's a combination of, balancing business with personal, but ultimately the personal one won out.
I think for us it was a real roller coaster. We saw a lot of early success, and then we saw some challenges through the mid stages of our business around growth and how to maintain the momentum that we had. COVID, when it came around, I thought it was going to kill our business. We were a vitamin, not a prescription, something that somebody might want but doesn't need. And it turned out pretty shortly after COVID hit that we were actually in a real sweet spot. We were direct to consumer. We didn't have any retail presence in physical stores. We were in an industry that consumers loved and doubled down on, and we saw a new wave of growth. We had some uncertainty around how long it would last, where it would go, and we were approached by the former general manager of Backpacker magazine, and she said, we were just acquired by a group that has an interest in getting into retail, and I think you would be a great fit. Would you talk to the CEO? Conversation started and ultimately led to a really strong interest on both sides of the table to join forces. This group had a really big audience and was looking for ways to monetize them. We had a product where it was getting more and more expensive to acquire customers, and we thought that that would be a wonderful marriage. As we were going through our acquisition process, it came to light that this group acquired Outside Magazine and elevated the name of Outside to be the name of the parent company. And so we didn't actually sell to the legacy 50-year-old brand that everyone thinks of. We sold to a much younger company that bought many brands over the course of 3 years. It was a relief to sell. It was incredibly challenging to sell. I would say it's the hardest part of entrepreneurship is to go through that process. But wonderful to look back in the rearview mirror and know that you're a few steps away from it and can appreciate the fondness more than the challenges.
I mean, it's amazing you both still have a head full of hair, because I know that it's not. I know that it's not easy. I know that it was bumpy, it was uncertain, and I'm sure too, like following the sale, like what was that like? What was it like transitioning your team? Were there things that maybe you regret or wish had been different?
I remember the conversation I had with my staff when I told them, because we were really walking this line. I think it's like this with any acquisition, but we were selling to a public company, so we really were. It was really supposed to be private until it was publicly announced, and so we had to keep a lid on it. And I remember I finally kind of negotiated enough with Paul and their legal team to basically say like, hey, I've got to tell my staff what's going on. Like I'm like dying under the weight of having this. I'm a very open leader. We share financials. It was like crushing me to have this secret. And so I remember telling them, about it. But I mean, there was a lot of uncertainty. It was scary for sure. Nobody likes to hear that that the ownership of their job is changing. But one of the things that aligned with, and one of the reasons that we sold was that Laird was a Central Oregon company, and they were going to take all of our employees under their wing, and everybody was retaining their jobs. And it was a very if anything, there was more kind of upward mobility potential for every employee in terms of salary and benefits and all that type of stuff. So, but it was still scary, and I remember being super nervous to do that. but it's just a lot of communication through and through. And actually, this question reminded me, I'm proud to say that one of my staff that was part of that acquisition from the Picky Bar side was just announced as the 2024 Employee of the Year for Laird Superfood, which is pretty cool because they're still, yeah. So anyway, yeah.
So we didn't get the opportunity to breathe or relax after we were acquired. Most acquisitions lead to a big celebration and the opportunity to maybe recover from the period that came before it. We were bought by a startup that was younger than our own business. Yes, it came with a name that was 50 years old, but there were dozens of businesses that were being merged together with a whole new business model for the industry. And the expectation for us was, it's time to grow. You have access to our audience. We have funds that we've raised. We're going to invest in retail, and we want you to deploy it. And so we celebrated for a weekend and then went right back to work and started to grow the company again. We doubled the size of our team in a matter of about 6 months. We moved from a 2,000 to 3,000 square foot building to a 20,000 square foot building. We tried to 6x the investment in retail that we had in about a 12-month period of time, which was a lot to swallow. We get a year and a half into that strategy, and we're about to launch what we had built or designed for retail for the entire business, and it became clear that the funding markets were changing. This was 2022, 23. It was harder to raise money, and the business model, the macro business model that Outside was operating under, required another round of investments to get to their intended path of profitability. And I think very wisely so, they saw that that was going to be challenging to raise given the macro environment that was changing the funding market, and they decided to get to profitability faster. They had to cut a lot of capital investments to do it, one of which was our business segment. And so I had the wild journey of starting, growing, selling the business, seeing the injection of capital into it, and then being asked to shut it down. So I spent about 6 months after that conversation with the C-suite at Outside, shutting down the business that I had built and sold to them. And I have to say, as hard as that was, it was a real privilege to do because I could do it in a way that I felt good about. And I think that had I had to watch somebody else turn it off, that would have been much harder for me. I left Outside 3 years after the acquisition. I stuck around, did special projects for about a year after we shut down the retail division. I'm proud to say that they made immense progress towards that goal of profitability, and ultimately decided to step away and start working on other things.
I just appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability here, both of you. Really, it's really nice. I know you all have questions for these people, so anybody wanna? Okay. I mean, I have more questions, but I don't want to ignore y'all. All right. Well, for now, I guess. Oh, there we are. MVP, hit me.
Jesse, definitely a little more picky, but Rob's definitely more caring. Even though he's taller, I know Jesse runs faster.
Okay.
I would just love to hear, maybe, I can't decide who I'm going to ask, so maybe both of you.
Okay.
I'm asking for a friend, basically. How would you navigate tariffs in this volatile situation?
Okay, all right.
Manufacturing goods in other countries,
Okay.
China specifically.
Okay. Yes, this is a nice, huge question. First of all, I do want to say thank you for that. She you mentored her, both of you did. She said Jesse is not as tall as Rob, but he is a faster runner. Jesse is picky.
I think she said
Rob is
smarter,
caring. But she appreciates you both very, very much. And she wants you to talk about tariffs and manufacturing and this environment that we're finding ourselves in, and what insights you have to share.
Rob is an expert on this topic.
It's interesting. Jesse just said that he was smarter. So. No one knows, right? This is an incredibly challenging environment dynamic, and it's far from over. So I think if there's one thing to be thankful for in all of this is that we don't know what the finish line looks like, and hopefully it's a lot better than it is right now. I think it's a reminder to stay flexible and nimble and be creative. I think that there will be opportunities here that you can start working on around where you manufacture, how you manufacture. If you do some of the assembly here in the US versus elsewhere, what products or what materials go into your product. I think that the reminder here and part of this is the flexibility of your supply chain, and having alternatives, having backups is really important. I think that spending time with anyone around you that's involved in your business, which at this point might be your friends, your spouses, your mentors, it might be entire teams of people, to brainstorm, if this does get really bad, how do you pivot? How do you rebuild? What is the core skill set that your team has to offer? And how do you apply that to other segments in an industry that you love? So, yeah.
So don't panic. Thank you. Don't panic. Anything to add to that, Jesse?
Rob did a great job.
Yeah, he did. He really did. He really did. There was wisdom coming out of Rob just now.
I was just going to say redundancy, right? And I mean, we never faced tariffs, but we had manufacturers that couldn't provide product, for a long time. And we found out real fast how important it was to have backup manufacturers in other places. And so it's a different problem, but it's similar.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, in the back. What are you guys doing now?
Nothing's coming to me. Professionally, I am consulting, basically advising. I've got a couple brands that I'm working with. One of them is Branch Out Foods. They've got a dehydration technology for fruits and vegetables. Cool. It's pretty cool. And another one is a THC CBD beverage called Downshift. And I've worked with
Downshift.
Oh, good.
Love
All right,
it.
good to hear. And so, I'm helping, and then I've helped with a couple other brands, some of them even in this room. So I'm doing that professionally. I similar to what Rob said. I'm enjoying being in addition to being a bow mentor, kind of being able to pull the levers like I did as a founder, and really help founders through knowing, having gone through a number of things that they're experiencing, but also not being the founder and not having it be like the business being on my house, and and having to be financially responsible for that. That's a pretty sweet relief. Outside of that, I'm building a house actually, and I spend a lot of time with my kids.
Jesse's a little hesitant to mention this, but he's been nominated to be the president of a company or a nonprofit called the formerly Fast Runners of America, and his campaign kicks off this evening so I have an entire bag of these shirts that are for sale for $20 in the back of the room. For anybody who doesn't want to pay $20 for one of these amazing shirts, I have hundreds of stickers that I'm happy to give out for free.
Wow.
I've offered to be his
That's just like a whole new level.
I've offered to be his campaign manager, and
incredible.
Yeah. You can see that we have a little too much time on our hands.
Where's my royalty?
This is a whole new Jesse and Rob.
Where's
truly.
my royalty?
So I've been wearing this hot jacket all night because I didn't want to see this shirt.
I was wondering why you were wearing that jacket.
So the real answer to the question is, first and foremost, I have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old, and I can show up in their lives in a way that I couldn't before, and that's been a real privilege. It's fun to give back. It's fun to be a part of BOW and pay it forward. I consumed a lot of time of many people in this room when I was building a business. Yeah. And it's nice to be able to step back and offer a little bit of that back into the community. And BOW is one phenomenal way to do it. And then I have some fun projects for myself and for others that come around and ask. It's hard to say no to people that I enjoy working with and have products or businesses that that I believe in. So there's no singular thing that dominates my time now, but a lot of fun things.
Oh, I just love to hear it. I really do. I'm really happy for both of you. It sounds really nice. So congratulations. And you're still in the best part of your life. That's the good news, right? You're not 90 years
Hopefully.
old. So any other questions for Rob and Jesse? I'm like, don't you just want to give them more opportunities to be goofy together? You guys are really two characters. It's nice. I feel like you're starting a show.
This shirt is just ridiculous.
I mean,
Look
you
at
have a
that
killer
thing.
head of hair, and
Yeah,
that you have
yeah,
a nice
but
head of hair, but this is
if
really
I want
impressive.
Literally had a shirt printed.
I had mini shirts printed. I have a bag of them. They're $20.
Oh my God.
They will go to pay for
cannot-
Jesse and my lunches, where I can provide mentoring to Jesse on what he does next in his career.
I cannot.
But if I have one problem with this shirt, it's how flattering Jesse looks. I gave that feedback to the artist. I was like, he does not look that good in real life.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's like you can hear his theme song just by looking at this image. You know, it's like, yeah, it's powerful.
All you did here, Rob, was stroke my ego more.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
gonna be
powerful.
people
It's powerful.
wearing
Questions.
T-shirts with my face on them.
Questions? Yes, in the back.
Yeah, any advice from the acquisition processes or previous experiences raising money that you would give to entrepreneurs that
Yeah,
haven't?
I love this question.
And just maybe things that you didn't think about that then questions that were asked by investors or acquirers where it's like, man, I wish I would have set something up
Yeah.
different structurally. Or,
This is such an important question. So, any advice for people who are potentially seeking investors, questions that might come up from investors, things that you wish you had known going through that process that you would offer to people who might be in a similar situation?
Start nurturing the relationships of who you might borrow money from or receive investment from as early as possible. Wait as long as possible to take that money. Expect it to add complications to your business, but also if you pick the right investors, expect it to add value that you don't perceive or expect in the form of advice, in the form of contacts and references, in the form of counseling. I think all entrepreneurs need some of that. It can be with the right team behind you and your investors are a part of that team. It can be incredibly powerful, but the longer you wait to do that, the easier it is.
I agree with all that. I think know that you're mostly marrying your investor, for most intents and purposes. And so you want to be. It goes along with what Rob said. You want to be super comfortable with that person and know that person pretty well. As far as acquisition, I mean, I think it's going to be really, really hard, no matter who you are, what your business is. I think that all I heard from every single person that had ever had their company acquired was that it's really hard. And I thought that mine was going to be the one that wasn't. I knew Paul for 2.5 years. I knew their team. I knew their business. It was going to be Central Oregon. I mean, there was just so many things that were so great about it. And it was still by far the hardest professional thing I've ever gone through by a lot. And so I think just being ready for that, it's important.
I appreciate those answers so much because I think the acquisition process is so glorified, and I think this kind of mythology of start a business to sell a business is one path, and then we overlook all these other paths. So I think this is really key.
I was going to actually mention this. I think it was Jared and I, but right after we sold, I was on the stage with Rob's co-founder Jared, and I forgot the guy's name, and I'm sure some people know. I think it's the 5 Talent. Did they sell also?
Preston?
Preston? Yeah. And I remember because there was a question from the audience that was so what are you guys doing now? And it had just been 3 or 4 weeks. And
Rocking back and forth in the fetal position.
Yeah, totally. Well, Jared and I were both we're kind of we're in a little bit of a daze, but we're both working for our acquirers, and we're kind of just in it, a little bit like, whoa, we're blitzed, we're working really hard. And Preston was like, I'm done. I'm out. He signed it, and on the day he sold, he was done. And I remember at that time being like, holy shit, how did he do that? Like, what? That sounded so nuts to me. Like, you have this company, you grow it, and then you sell it, and then you're just like, peace out. And now I look back at that, I'm like, wow, that was really smart. He saved himself so much like heartache and headache and everything else, and just was, and I think he had sold a company already before, so he probably knew. It's nuts, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have one final thing I want to ask of you, and that is, if someone was interested in being a part of BOW and applying for the program, what would you say to them?
Well, now we have split teams, so you want to make sure that you get on my team and not on Rob's team. If you really want real value in the program, that's what you would do. If you want to see cute little T-shirts and stuff, you can go on Rob's team. No, I mean, you should reach out. If you're interested, you should reach out to Rob or I, or one of the many people that are in this room. Go to the website. I don't know what the website is, but go to it. And outdoorworks.com? Yes, no? Okay, yeah. Logo's out, guys. But yeah, certainly, we have, I can say that the BOW experience was a fundamental kind of pivot point for me in the transformation of Picky Bars from what was, I wouldn't call it a hobby business because we were of significant size, but it was not my full-time business. And as I was transitioning to full-time, that was when I started with BOW, and it started us on the trajectory that we went on. And so it was super important.
I would quickly say that being a founder is lonely. And if you are interested...
I'm right here, Rob.
If you are interested in help, feedback, guidance, understanding things that you may not be able to see on your own, there is a wonderful group of people in this town that are incredibly generous with their time and their resources to help the community, the industry, and these businesses grow. And find somebody that's gone through the program or is a part of the program in some capacity and just start talking to them. I wouldn't say that it's for every single business out there, but you will discover if it's for you as you have those conversations.
Thank you both so much. Yeah. Okay, we got one thing.
I add one thing as a former BOW.
He's adding one thing as a former BOW.
Yeah, we were asked many times, like, how could you afford to give away a percentage of your business or a percentage of your sales to BOW? And I just flipped that script and I said, I'm gaining X percentage or X because I work.
I just got chills.
I was totally like, Katie and I were just like, they had no clue where to go with
Yeah.
this, and that was it.
I appreciate that so much, Chris. He said people ask him often, like, how could you give up a percentage of your sales in exchange for this program? And he said he just flipped the script, like, how could he not do it? They needed the help. They had no idea what they were doing. It was such a high value exchange. Am I saying that correctly? But yeah. So full validation from Chris and Katie. Yeah, awesome. Well, okay, I want you to stay up here with me, because I just really enjoy being here with you two. You're really a lot of fun. But how about a round of applause for Rob Little and Jesse Thomas?